it's recording.
Okay.
So you had turned it off. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Well, other than that, the only maintenance that this guy will ever require is once every 6 months. The pool service will be, this will be something else the pool service will take care of. They would take a look in through the window up top here, and to make it easier for you guys, you can take a look between each one of these little blades, and after about 6 months or so, you might notice white flakes starting to build up on the inside of that. Those are just calcium deposits, and what your pool service will do is they'll take a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up with mostly pool water, and the rest they'll take it a couple glugs of muriatic acid, which is the chemical to maintain your pH. They'll set this guy in there, cord and all, won't hurt a thing. After about 30 seconds or so, they'll take it out, and all those all those calcium flakes will be completely gone. At which point, they'll spray off any excess acid, slide this guy right back into place, quarter turn, and you're back in business.
How often you said that?
Once every 6 months or so.
Okay.
And this again is called the...
That's the salt cell. Yes, sir. One thing I did forget to mention passing over your filter is going off of the gauge up top here, you'll only have to clean it off once, maybe 3 or 4 months. That being said, that's generally what the filter is meant to go off. That's the default, and that'll last you about a year before you'd have to replace the interior filter. A&G has found, though, if you clean it off once a month, as opposed to going off the gauge, it'll double the lifespan, from 1 year to about 2. And whenever it comes to replacing them, I'm supposed to let you know now, A&G does sell them, but we charge double. To be honest, you can get them from any pool store. Generally, they're between $80 to $100, and it's just a Jandy CS filter. They only have 2 sizes. They have the 100, which is half this size, then they got the full size, which is called the 300. Or you could just take the whole filter in. They'll give you exactly what you need.
Okay. Once a month, clean off that filter. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
All right. Only other thing to touch base on is this valve right here. This controls either the returns in the walls of the pool, which I'll show you over here in the next couple minutes, or your water feature line, or another name is your waterfall for the most part. So if you folks had the waterfall going, right now it's at a nice steady cascade, nice solid stream, but some folks like it to be a little bit stronger. To do that, what you can do is you can adjust the valve up top here. There's a little label scratched in there with off, which represents the wall inside of this guy. So if you folks ever wanted to make your waterfall stronger, turning it this way does do that. The only thing we don't recommend is turning your returns off all the way. And the reasoning behind that is it's a lot of pressure on just a couple pipes, because your system is set up to have about 4 or 5 exits for that water. So by turning it this way, it's just putting unnecessary pressure on your waterfall line. Another reason we put this guy in is because some folks, they don't want to hear that waterfall every day, every morning. You have the option of turning it off completely. So your pool still circulates, but it's not having that sound effect going off all the time.
Okay.
All right. So, any questions on your plumbing so far?
Pretty easy.
For the most part. I know we're moseying right along, but like I said, if no questions jump out today, I'm always a phone call away.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, other than that, we'll go ahead and we'll mosey on over here to your control panels. Now, generally, everything over here is going to be stuff your pool service will take care of for you. But this is a couple options that you folks were inclined if you ever wanted to change. This black one up here represents the time clock for your actual filter pump. And the owner's manual is in here, so you guys always have an option of reading through it. Leave that here on site, because this guy is confusing. I'm still learning some stuff about it.
Yeah, that's the part I got confused. That's why this is the part I wanted to hear. That's why I said it's important.
Do we have that one?
Yeah, we have this.
Yep. So
set up.
Basically, what you got here is this controls the on time and the off time of your pump.
You should shift this way a little bit. Your shadow. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem.
Or maybe you can come this way.
There
you go. All right.
Situated.
Like Hollywood, man.
I love it. All right. Lights, everything's good. Awesome. All right, so right now, the equipment is currently set to a time clock schedule of 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And just to explain to you all the different features of these buttons, you basically have 4 program buttons. The first 2 on the left side here represent buttons that can have a time clock feature enabled. The first one is a filtration option. Basically, if y'all were going out of town for an extended period of time, this would still run the pump and the equipment at the lowest possible RPMs, so it would save you a little bit of money whenever it came to your energy. One factor about it, though, is we don't recommend having any kind of bathing load introduced into the pool. So it would be an option only if nobody was going to be using pool for the extended amount of time. The reasoning behind that is because the RPMs are circulating the water so much slower, any kind of bathing load does affect the chemistry. So your chemistry might go out of whack here and there on occasion if somebody goes swimming. But the button y'all will be using the most often is the number 2 button, which is just a regular programming button. And the difference between the first and the second is this one allows you to adjust the actual RPMs of the pump. So right now it's currently set to 2750, which is the factory default. That's basically the RPMs that the pump is designed to run and have the longest lifespan on. But you do have the option of raising it all the way up to 3450. So that would definitely make your waterfall stronger and the circulation a lot quicker. Other options are 3 and 4, which function as if they were number 2. The only difference is, as you can see, there's a little fingerprint underneath it. Those are manuals. Basically, these guys would come into play if you folks had like an electric heater that needed the equipment to run non-stop for days, weeks, months to maintain the water. So these guys are strictly manual. So if you were to press the number 3 and walk away, this guy would run for days, weeks, 24 hours non-stop until you either A, came over and turned it off, or B, turned it back onto the number 2, which has that little time clock in the top left-hand corner signifying that it is enabled.
So if you're going to be away for a long period of time like she is, what would be the best?
Best one would be putting it on E-filter and just leaving it alone from there. You could set up a time clock, which is what I generally recommend for some folks. So to do that, and it's the same way for the number 2, what you'll do is you'll press the E button, then you press menu to open up the time clock options, where you could adjust the on time, the off time, as well as whether or not the time clock is enabled. So since she's out of town for an extended period of time, nobody's going to be using the pool, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll open up time clock, enable it using the arrow keys, save it by pressing the menu button again, so now it's enabled, and we'll set the on time to 9 in the morning. And the only recommendation A&G has, really, is to let it run continuously for 8 hours a day. And by holding down the arrow key, that obviously speeds up the process exponentially instead of having to click it 9 or 10 times. Or 10,000 times. Yeah.
So even if you're out of town, let it circulate for 8 hours a day?
Yes, ma'am. So, we're almost to the number 9. Right there.
Because the water has to circulate in order to keep its balance.
Yes, sir. That's exactly it.
Even if nobody's in it, it still needs to circulate. It'll just sit there.
Right. So what is the difference from being out of town and being in town?
Well, being in
what
town,
are we doing differently?
the load, the bathe load.
So if folks are going to go swimming,
you need more filtration, so you need to turn it up.
Yep.
Oh,
right?
okay. So you're just turning down the...
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
Saving energy.
Basically, what this is, it's identical. And it, to be honest, in y'all's case, it might be easier doing it this way. What we can do is we can set it to the number 2, and you can lower the RPMs down to 1750. Basically, it's doing the same thing on E, only instead of you having to hold down the arrow key to adjust the RPMs down to 1750, it saves them automatically. But because we don't know when she'll be getting back, we'll go ahead and we'll set it up to this guy right here.
Okay.
Oh, and I already see the second I hit 17 lowest, it went ahead and it put it on the E-filter button. So it's already kind of set up to maintain it for us.
And then when she comes and they're going to be in the water a lot, then you change it by
pressing the number 2 here and raising the RPMs up.
Okay. So the clock will stay put, but the RPMs will just go up.
Yes, sir.
Can you put that up to like 2,700, you said?
Yes, sir. 2750.
Okay.
To make it easier on her, because if y'all folks might not be here, and to save you a trip, it'll be much easier for me to just leave it the way it was at 2750.
Okay.
That way, if she calls you, or she can give me a call too, instead of her having to hold this down for 10 minutes or so, all she'll have to do is walk over, and it'll be set to filtration.
Nice.
She'll just come over, press the number 2.
Okay.
And everything will go back to where it should be.
She's got 2 settings then.
Yes,
one
sir.
when we're gone, one when we're... Okay.
Exactly.
And all you do is push the star.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and I'll finish setting this guy up to where it's on the 9 to 5 schedule.
Okay. Nice. So that's kind of what I forgot how to do at our house, because I wanted to run the filter or run the waterfall for a longer period of time.
Yes, sir.
Because we were having a party.
Makes sense.
But I forgot how to do it, so that's the thing. So you're going to show us how to do that too?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. One thing that you folks can do is basically this guy is set up to run from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, like I was saying. But if you folks had a party going on, for example, and 5 o'clock rolls around, obviously the pump will turn itself off. One thing that y'all can do, just almost there. There we are. Okay. So now it's set to automatically run like that. Right now, well, I'll just use the E-filter button as an example because it does the same thing. It turns on the equipment. Say 5 o'clock rolls around. This screen shows you, hey, the pump is off. After 5 o'clock, what you can do is you can come over and press the number 2, which will be the button that would be in effect for y'all folks in particular. And if you were to walk away from it right now, say y'all had a party and you forgot to turn off the waterfall, because this guy is set to have a time clock feature enabled, what it'll do is it'll run continuously through the night, and the next day it'll go back onto its 9 to 5 schedule for you. Okay. So there's no adjustments that need to be made.
Dummy proof.
Yep. I wouldn't go that far. Nobody's a dummy. Nobody's a dummy here. The only other thing that y'all might occasionally have to do, and to be honest, some folks never even bother with it, is daylight savings time does roll around. You have to jump forward an hour or jump back. What you can do is from the menu, when everything is currently off, holding down the menu button for 5 consecutive seconds allows you to open up the user menu, which then in turn allows you to set the time. So right now, say if daylight savings time is coming on the 5th or so, what you can do is you can do it just as if it were your time clock buttons, using the up and down key to set it to whatever time you'd like, then using the menu button to save that time frame.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Now, say you had the party and you didn't want it to run all the way until the next cycle.
Yes,
You just
sir.
wanted it to run until 12 midnight.
Okay.
The waterfall.
Yes, sir.
And then stop. How do you?
Well, you have 2 options on that. You
Okay.
can either A, whenever you're done with it, come out and press the number 2 again, which turns everything off and leaves it back on its 9
That's
to 5.
okay.
Or you can adjust the time clock, which is what we were just doing. So
Okay,
instead
gotcha.
of it running from 9 to 5, you can open up your time clock and change the off time from 5 o'clock to midnight. At which
Okay.
point it will maintain that 9 to midnight schedule though.
Until you change it back.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay.
So, and very good questions, I will say. Any more of them jump at you on this little guy? I know he's
Yeah.
pretty
One last
confusing.
thing. If the waterfall is not going fast enough, that's when you increase the RPM.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or you can adjust it using your valve down there.
Because I don't know if we have that valve on ours. We might, because we have a bigger unit up there. But I'll look.
I think we do.
Okay.
Well, if y'all folks, like I said, I'll be giving y'all some of my business cards. So
Okay.
if even though I wasn't the one who probably gave you the walkthrough, you can give me a call and I'll be able to explain to you over the phone. No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah, we'll look.
Sounds
Okay.
like
All right.
Only other thing whenever it comes to your equipment over here that might occasionally need to be adjusted is this time clock is the older style analog time clock. And what this guy does is it controls the on and the off time for the True Clear Center. And what this guy does is it's the chlorine production levels of your salt system whenever it's up and running. So basically what we'll do is whenever A&G comes out and adds the salt, we'll set this time clock to come on the same time as your equipment does. So in this case, 9 to 5. And what we'll do is we'll set the production level to what we believe is the proper level to maintain your chlorine. So at 100%, this guy can chlorinate a 35,000 gallon pool. And because this pool isn't quite that size, it's probably a little bit closer to maybe 15 to 18,000 gallons. We'll probably only have him set to maybe 50 to 40%. At which point, whenever your pool service comes out, tests your chlorine. If it's on the low side, they'll just raise it up a little bit until they find that sweet spot, at which point it maintains itself. And the only time any kind of adjustments will need to be made is once every couple of months, you might need to add a little bit of the salt here and there, which is something else the pool service will take care of for you.
Okay.
All right? But because that guy isn't quite set up yet, time clock isn't set, so to save y'all energy, we'll come out whenever we do the salt, and we'll have that all set up. Right now, it's going to just sit here off.
Real quick question. If we were doing it ourselves, how would we know that we need to add salt?
What you'll do is one rule of thumb. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't show you the salt level. But whenever you go to a pool store, they always check for your salinity.
Okay.
That's one cool thing.
Okay.
Another thing is you'll notice that the production level would have to be exceptionally higher than the original set point. So say we have it at 50 on day 1. 6 months down the line, it might have to kick itself up to 70. That's when you'll notice that you might have to add a little
okay.
salt.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Excellent. And the only other thing, so y'all know what it is, this guy isn't for you, this is for us, this is the transformer for your pool lights. So if something goes wrong, we'll be able to make adjustments out here for you.
Okay.
All right. Wonderful. So any questions on the equipment?
That was good, man. I feel better now. Give me another 2 months to forget.
That's okay.
That's why you have the video.
Or my phone number.
There you go. Man, they did a great job on this.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They did a really good job.
So, to be honest, y'all folks, since you already own a pool, are probably familiar with everything inside, but just because it's kind of a part of the spiel, I'll go ahead and touch base on everything. Whenever it comes to the baby fence, this guy does need to stay up until we pass final inspection, which the only thing we're waiting on is the sod, and I don't particularly know what's taken so long on that. But because it's something that hasn't been completed yet, I'm going to have you folks write down sod on our customer punch list, which is basically for anything that Angie still needed to take care of in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Alright, so just so you know what everything inside the pool is, you have the two sides of the equipment like I was saying. On the suction side, you got your two white plates at the deepest part, those are your main drains. You also have your skimmer up top here,
You want-
if gets anything floating around.
I want to drop your phone in. I'll let you do it.
Good call. I'm a little nervous about that too. And the other one is your special fitting right here in the wall, this little flush plug. That would be where you'd plug in one of those creepy crawler vacuums if you're inclined to get one of those. Yep. And that guy just unscrews from the wall.
Okay.
Plug in your hose that comes with it, and you're good as gold. And it starts vacuuming up what have you. On the other side of your equipment, whenever it comes to your returns, after the water's been circulated, heated, filtered, it'll eventually come in for your waterfall there, obviously. And then you have these special little eyeball fittings in the wall, which gives you this little bit of a ripple effect and expands the water and distributes it evenly. And the only other thing is you do have your little vacuum, or not your vacuum, it looks a lot similar to your vacuum line. That would be for a pool umbrella, in case she ever wanted to get you one of them first.
Yay!
All right?
And she will.
No doubt, no doubt. All right. Well, to be honest, that's really all there is to the interior. Whenever it comes to maintenance, though, as you're probably already familiar, it does require somebody to come out and vacuum, scrub, and test the chemistry at least once a week. So that's where we suggest a pool service, because for those first couple of months, you are going to be fighting the chemicals a little bit. That's just totally normal for a brand new pool, unfortunately. But eventually it will plateau, which is why after a year or so, we still recommend occasionally taking it to a pool store, but some folks add it every week and they get so used to it, they're kind of able to just take a look at it, say, oh, I need some chlorine. At that point, you would only need to maintain your warranty with a visit to a pool store once a month. But good rule of thumb is I just recommend going once a week, just because that makes it kind of impossible for anything to go out of whack.
And then that will not, you don't need that floater there once you get everything on. That's just
That-
there to maintain it
Exactly.
for right now. Okay.
Yep, that guy will be gone whenever we come out and add a salt for you.
Okay. Yeah, this is beautiful.
Excellent, we always love hearing. Alright, so any questions on the interior of the pool? Alright, excellent. To be honest, all that's really left to go over, and I'm not sure if maybe I'll be able to see. I'm not sure if they put the light switch on the inside, which would make it a little bit difficult, or if it looks like it might actually be this way. Let's see if that turned on the light.
There's your pool light switch right there.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Whenever it comes to your pool lights, I'll be actually giving you guys a little bit of a card right here, which explains everything I'll be touching base on.
There's your pool light there.
Yep. How this guy works is you actually got 9 different colors on this guy and 5 different color shows. And how it works is from your light switch, from the on position, if you turn it off and then back on within 2 seconds, it'll go to the next color in the list. So say right now it's on, we would click it off and then back on within 2 seconds. Then it would move down to sky blue and then cobalt blue, all the way to your color shows down here, which is slow and fast color rotation, red, white, and blue for America, Fat Tuesday, which is like Mardi Gras colors,
Hey.
then Discotheque, which I think should actually come with some kind of warning because it's a little bit fast for my taste. But whenever it comes to times, everything is written here on the back. So you have change color on and then off within 3 seconds, reset to white by going on a 5-second count, and then whenever you want to save the color, like it's on magenta, As long as you wait 7 seconds before you turn the light back on, it'll always be that same color. So say we have it on violet for the night, we turn it off. The next day we come out, whenever we turn it on, it'll still be violet for us.
Okay.
All right.
We do, yeah.
Excellent. Love hearing that. All right, excellent. Well, to be honest, that's the conclusion of the pool school walkthrough.
Thank you. And what's your name again?
DJ.
DJ. DJ did a good job, guys. Thanks, DJ.
Love hearing that. Excellent.